Most people think of alcohol as causing liver issues, and I'm here to tell you actually there's so much more to the story. Alcohol actually is a gut issue, and the research that I've discovered has changed a lot in my own life, and I want to share it with you. You know, most people think of alcohol as a liver issue. You drink, your liver processes it, that's the end of the story, right? But that's not actually the full picture because alcohol doesn't just pass through your body, it actually passes through your gut microbiome. Even when alcohol may feel fine, like you're not drunk or sick or hungover, it can still be altering your gut barrier and your gut microbiome. I'm Dr. Bulsiewicz, gastroenterologist, gut health expert, and today I want to help you reframe this conversation around alcohol so that you can see its impacts on your gut health. In this video, we're going to answer 3 really important questions. What actually happens after one bad night of booze? What happens to your gut if you're drinking alcohol on a regular basis? And last but not least, the million-dollar question that everyone wants to hear: is drinking red wine something you should actually do for your health? When you actually see the gut side of alcohol, it changes how you think about it. And that's what we're going to cover today. Let's begin with the core mechanism that's going to explain everything that we're talking about here today. Because at the center of this story is your gut barrier. And it's supposed to keep the bad bacteria and their toxic byproducts inside the gut where they actually belong. And there's an issue. Alcohol can weaken the barrier. It does this by damaging the cells that line the intestine, by disrupting the proteins that actually hold them together, and by altering the microbiome that protects the gut barrier. Ultimately, this is shifting the gut environment towards inflammation and oxidative stress. When the gut barrier breaks down, bacterial products, particularly something called lipopolysaccharide or LPS, start to leak into the bloodstream, and this is what we call endotoxemia. And once those microbial products enter the circulation, they trigger inflammation in the liver, but other places as well, like literally even the brain. The connection between the gut and the liver is so important that it actually has a name: the gut-liver axis. We've known for decades that people with alcohol misuse show these effects: increased gut permeability, higher bacterial endotoxin levels, and more systemic inflammation. But you don't need a chronic alcohol disorder to feel these effects. In fact, you may not realize that when you drink to the point of having a hangover, you have experienced this firsthand. Let's think about this for a minute. What is a hangover? We're often told it's dehydration. It's not. If that were true, you'd simply rehydrate and you'd feel better very quickly. But hangovers linger for at least a day. You feel flu-like. They come with a headache, fatigue, nausea, brain fog. You're feeling lethargic, anxious, often a bit paranoid. That's not dehydration. Many people blame acetaldehyde, which is a toxic metabolite that comes from alcohol consumption. And it does contribute to damaging the gut barrier and is a major contributor to alcohol-related gut injury. But it doesn't tell the whole story because acetaldehyde goes away quickly. Actually, even before the alcohol is cleared. Yet, the hangover continues to rage for hours and hours. Acetaldehyde is long gone while you lay on the couch groaning and suffering. And human research has shown that hangovers are associated with elevated inflammatory cytokines. Now here's the thing, a hangover is terrible, you feel like absolute trash. But there's a bigger picture here, which is the inflammation that is being created by the hangover can have bigger downstream consequences in terms of your health. And that is not something that you want, that is not worth the price of that one good night on Friday. Now, all of this I find to be very interesting because I wrote a book about inflammation called Plant Powered Plus. And in it, I showed that inflammation is actually the consequence of gut barrier disruption and microbiome injury. And that brings us to the study that completely changed how I think about alcohol and actually has led me to substantially reduce my alcohol consumption in my own life. Let's talk about how one bad night can have catastrophic effects in the gut. So there's a human study that was published in 2014 by Bala and colleagues that I think every person should know about. Because in this study, healthy adults were given alcohol to reach a blood alcohol concentration of 0.08%, which is the legal limit for driving in most states. And the researchers measured two things over the following hours: blood alcohol levels and the blood levels of lipopolysaccharide, or LPS. The main takeaway from the study was that even a single alcohol binge results in increased blood levels of LPS, likely due to the disruption of the gut barrier and things crossing over the gut, and this is otherwise known as leaky gut. But the most important findings you would actually miss if you only read the abstract, so let's go deeper. First, the alcohol curve and the endotoxin curve, they moved in parallel. It's like they were superimposed over one another. Let me show you. As blood alcohol levels rose, endotoxin levels rose in the same way. As blood alcohol levels fell, endotoxin levels fell in the same way. There's even a spot right here, 2.5 hours after alcohol intake, where you see the blood alcohol level goes up a little, even though it was declining before this. What does the endotoxin level do? It goes up as well. Now, I can't explain why the blood alcohol level went up, but it says a lot that the endotoxin level went up at the exact same time. And here's the key second point. Endotoxin levels did not return to baseline until alcohol levels were 0. As long as alcohol was in the bloodstream, the gut barrier could not fully recover. This means alcohol was actively preventing gut healing in real time. This gives us a gut-centered explanation for hangovers. Check this out. As long as alcohol is present, the gut barrier continues to remain impaired, bacterial toxins leak into the circulation, and inflammation persists. The damage that's occurring in your gut is creating the hangover. Now, this study wasn't designed to answer what happens with one drink. But the fact that gut injury persisted until alcohol was gone, literally 0, was enough for me to make a personal decision. Even small amounts of alcohol don't feel necessary or worth it in my own life. And it raises an important question. If this is what one night can do, what happens if you're drinking all the time? With repeated alcohol exposure, the story becomes actually self-reinforcing. Studies in people with chronic alcohol use show persistent gut permeability, show altered gut microbiome composition. They can actually have bacterial overgrowth. And there's a reduction in the beneficial metabolites, the things we really want, like short-chain fatty acids. This entire picture ultimately feeds forward into liver inflammation, alcoholic hepatitis, and the progression to cirrhosis. Also, this inflammation changes brain signaling. What was the gut-liver axis becomes the gut-liver-brain axis, which explains the impacts of alcohol on our mood, on anxiety, even the paranoia that we feel. But here's the exciting part. If alcohol can cause all this injury and harm, what happens if you stop? See, this is the beauty of alcohol cessation. It's a redemption story. Your body can heal. And a recent human study showed this, which is that when people stop drinking, the gut microbiome begins to recover. Cessation of alcohol led to a shift towards a healthier microbiome that's better at producing the anti-inflammatory short-chain fatty acid butyrate. Now, microbiome recovery in the study tracked with improvements in inflammation, as well as mood, cravings, and overall health outcomes. This links gut health directly to recovery. And it tells us something exciting and powerful. Alcohol-related gut injury is not necessarily permanent. It's at least partially reversible if you're willing to quit drinking. The gut is resilient. It wants to heal. Your liver is resilient and also wants to heal. All of this is possible if we simply remove the toxic factor. Now, we've discussed a lot about what alcohol does that's bad, yet we always hear that red wine is good. So what gives? It's a matter of understanding the nuance, my friends. Not everything in life is as black and white as the internet makes it seem, unfortunately. Large population studies show that people who consume red wine on a regular basis do tend to have higher gut microbial diversity, and in general, their microbial profiles are beneficial. But here's the key distinction. These benefits are driven by polyphenols, not by ethanol. And you can get polyphenols from a number of different sources. Berries, cocoa, green tea, olives, coffee, legumes, all of them without alcohol. And there's downsides of even a single drink. Just one drink can disrupt your sleep. Just one drink can worsen your triglyceride levels in your blood. And just one drink on a daily basis has been shown to increase the risk of breast cancer in women, with evidence also linking long-term alcohol consumption to cancer of the colon, esophagus, and liver. So the honest takeaway is this: if you do drink, red wine is the least bad option in terms of what impacts your gut microbiome will have. But ethanol carries very real risks, and you do have the option to get your polyphenols from other sources. I would think about that. So in general, if someone chooses to drink, I do think there are some sensible ways to approach it to protect your health as much as possible. Number one, avoid binge drinking. This is where gut permeability and endotoxin spikes are the greatest. Number two, don't drink near your bedtime. Sleep disruption worsens both your gut and your immune recovery. Protect your sleep. Your body needs that. Number three, you should take steps to mitigate any injury that comes from alcohol consumption. My new book, Plant Powered Plus, is actually the playbook for supporting your gut microbiome and gut barrier, and is about so much more than just food. So if you want to know how to support your microbiome and repair your gut barrier, read Plant Powered Plus. But even if you don't, you should prioritize fiber and polyphenol-rich plant-based foods that feed and fuel your gut microbiome, because that's what your body needs. And number four, if you're actively dealing with gut symptoms or chronic inflammation, at a minimum, you should try abstinence for at least a month to see how your symptoms improve. And when you feel better, your body is telling you something. You should listen to it. Last but not least, there are some people out there who are watching this video that definitely should not be drinking alcohol. If you have a history of alcohol use disorder, liver disease or cirrhosis, pancreatitis, inflammatory bowel disease, especially in a flare, if you have uncontrolled acid reflux, if you're struggling with your sleep, of course, if you're pregnant, and if you have high risk for heart disease, for these individuals, look, it's just not worth it. I really encourage you to not be consuming alcohol. So as we close, I hope that you now see that alcohol isn't just a liver story. It's a gut immune inflammation story. Alcohol affects the gut barrier. It reshapes the microbiome, and it drives inflammation that can echo throughout your body. Now, the good news is that the gut is adaptable and it can heal. The choices that you make about alcohol, food, sleep, and daily habits, they matter a lot. So while alcohol may be normalized in many cultures, honestly, even encouraged, we have to be smart enough to see its effects on our body and the injury and the harm that it can cause. If you learned something from this video, you probably have someone else in your life who would benefit from this knowledge and information. Pass it along and give it a like so that others can find the information as well. And for more trustworthy gut health content, I'm inviting you to subscribe to my channel, where you're going to find even more, both in the past and the future. I'm Dr. B, and I'll see you on the next one.